If it's stupid, but it works, it isn't stupid. You've probably heard those words before, spoken by a wise old British gnome, and I'm here to question today whether those words are true. If a thing is in fact stupid, but it does in fact work, does that somehow alleviate the thing from its own stupidity? No, I don't think so. So actually, I think the more prudent question is, if something works, is it in fact smart? Is there value in it? And the reason I'm asking these rather nebulous and philosophical questions today is because today we have a game in which I find myself in a division with Spartan Elite 43 and Beastex Gaming. I left links to both of their channels in the description of this video in case you've never seen either of them, but I can't imagine that you haven't. In any case, once Spartan and I found ourselves on Two Brothers, it was Spartan's idea to engage the Two Brothers middle rush, something that I am usually completely opposed to. I'm sure you've heard me before on stream or in videos, calling out players for going up the middle on Two Brothers, saying it's a terrible, terrible idea that's only going to result in their demise, and most of the time it does, but that isn't necessarily because going up the middle in Two Brothers is a bad idea in all circumstances. That's because when people go up the middle in Two Brothers, they tend to enter this channel, go full speed, and sail all the way through on the other side, and by the time they do that, they often find themselves in a crossfire between the enemies that are on either flank of the map. So certainly if you are going to sail up the middle, the first piece of advice I have for you today is do not exit the mouth of the channel, not if there are ships on either side of you. You're just going to be immediately demolished. But if you go up the middle, you can stop at the end of the channel, and you can get a little bit of work done. And that's what Spartan Elite 43 and I are going to do. You can see I'm smoking up now as I get spotted by the Georgia. I am, by the way, playing the Tier 7 Premium Russian Light Cruiser, the Kutuzov. I haven't played this ship in quite a long time, but ever since the economic updates were done to this game and the credit earning potential of Tier 7 premiums was drastically increased, well, the value of the Kutuzov has increased because it is a light cruiser after all, with fairly rapid DPM, not maybe so much in comparison to some of the other light cruisers at this tier, but it also has ridiculously long range, very fast shell velocity, and good shell arcs, so it's very easy to hit any target at even maximum range. Plus, you can sit safely inside of a smoke screen with a smoke firing penalty of only 7.7 kilometers, I want to say. So smoking up in this channel, shooting at the Georgia, well, we've got him in a retreat. We've done 16,000 damage to him. I'm sure Spartan has done something to him as well. So, you know, we're getting a little bit of work done here. And let's be real, the Kutuzov and what's Spartan in the Iowa, perhaps not the best ships in which to pull this maneuver. The Iowa might be better at it than the Kutuzov, but the Kutuzov has absolutely atrocious concealment. It is a light cruiser, so it's got no armor. And while it does have torpedoes, they only have an 8-kilometer range, and it's only got one launcher on either side of the ship. I feel like you maybe want something with a little bit more potent DPM and a little bit better torpedoes to perform this maneuver, but hey, here we are, trying to support Spartan as he chases off that Georgia. Meanwhile, what has happened over on the flanks? Because that is sort of where the game is going to be decided a little bit in some sense. On the alpha flank, the cap has been unclaimed. It is still grayed out in its default state. No team has laid siege to it, but the delta cap has turned red, and our team has been demolished on that flank, leaving the destroyer, the battleship, and the cruiser over there completely unopposed. Meanwhile, it looks like our team is starting to creep into that Alpha cap. They've taken out a Massachusetts over there. And Spartan himself is actually inside of this Bravo cap, stopping the accrual of points, or at least he was. And, well, typically, over there on that Delta flank, if that flank had completely fallen and Spartan and I were not in the middle, it's almost a guaranteed certainty that that battleship, that destroyer, and that cruiser would simply push south, get into Charlie, and then all of a sudden find themselves behind our 3 remaining teammates over there, while the rest of the enemy team pushes in north toward Alpha and catches them in a crossfire. But because Spartan and I are here in this channel, and because our position is known to the enemy team, well, as you can see, both the cruiser and the destroyer have abandoned the Delta flank. They've come all the way back to their spawn, and the cruiser, which is a Cleveland, is actually sitting right here at the mouth of the channel shooting me. So instead of pushing south toward the Charlie flank, potentially getting into that Charlie cap, taking it, and then catching our remaining teammates in a crossfire, these ships have come back here to deal with us at the mouth of the channel. And because we're inside the mouth of the channel, we are fairly insulated from their torpedoes and their guns. They can only shoot at us from one direction. Now, to be fair, Spartan is taking a lot of damage here. He's being focused by a Cleveland, a Fletcher, and whatever that battleship is over there. And as I've said many, many times before, no matter what ship you're in, it doesn't matter. If you're getting focused by 3 enemies, maybe even 4 enemies at the exact same time, you're not going to be floating on the sea for much longer. No ship can stand up to that kind of firepower. I don't care what it is, don't care what the circumstances are. So what are we doing? We're coming up here, we're deploying our second and final smoke screen to give Spartan a little bit of a breather. Plus, Spartan is running Will to Rebuild on his commander, which, in my view, is the most useless, overpowered skill in this game. And I say useless because you do need to be right next to one of your teammates to get it to proc, and I always play solo, except in this case. So I don't use it all that much. I don't find it all that useful to me. And plus, being in the same space as another ship is often a bad idea, but not if you're both right in the channel as 2 brothers and your battleship teammate there is losing all his health. We'll let Spartan regain his health and stay alive courtesy of Will to Rebuild. We do want to try to hit this Fletcher. Our guns keep locking on to the Georgia, so the camera keeps moving over there. Meanwhile, here comes a barrage of Fletcher torpedoes. Undoubtedly, a terrible butt-clenching moment of utter terror for Spartan Elite 43, but he only takes 1 torpedo on the nose, and I'm able to reverse out of their path. Hit the Fletcher 3 times with 3 of these shells, so that's a good thing. We're going to see if maybe we can launch some torpedoes in his direction and do anything about that. But Spartan is reversing into my smoke. Smoke is usually not all that helpful for battleships, of course, but if they are not under the firing penalty that you get to your concealment every time you fire your guns, then the smoke will conceal Spartan until he fires his guns again. And the smoke has run out, but at least it gave him a little bit of breathing room. Meanwhile, that Georgia over there and whatever other battleship that is out to the far left are engaging our teammates over in Alpha, one of whom is Beast X. You can see that our teammates there have pushed through the Alpha cap, they've managed to take it, and we are actually now ahead of the enemy on points. Now, as my teammates begin to push up further, there is a Vladivostok off to the right of the screen there, right next to the edge of the channel, just waiting for me or Spartan to push through. And eventually we are probably going to have to push through, but the enemy Fletcher is still around somewhere, and I think we're both a little hesitant to do that at this very moment. So instead, we're just raining down some fire on these battleships out here. I've got a fire burning on the Georgia, or at least I did. He must have damage conned it. I'm up to 50,000 damage done, which, after 10 minutes have passed in the game, is maybe not all that impressive, but we do light another fire on the Georgia. There's more Fletcher torpedoes. At least we know he has launched them, and by some miracle, not a single one manages to tag Spartan's Iowa. So more good news, I suppose. Meanwhile, the question is, what are we going to do? Those two battleships reversing toward the edge of the map, well, my teammates are pushing in toward them, but that Vladivostok does happen to be in a position where if they push out further and they continue heading toward the Georgia and his teammate over there, well, they might be in a position where the Vladivostok has access to their broadsides and a crossfire, so that could indeed develop into a problem here very quickly. Meanwhile, the Fletcher is spotted once more, but he's in front of our teammates over there, so he's not actually going to be that much of a threat to us, and the Georgia is on low health. I'm trying to chip him down here a little bit with my high explosive, but you'll notice I am at half health, so I can't really afford to be taking Georgia salvos. I'm sure one single salvo from him could end me very, very easily, so I'm just kind of using this island here to break his line of sight as I reverse behind it every now and then. And, well, our teammates are chipping away at him. The Georgia is about to go down. Our shells hit him and light a fire. That fire should be lethal and take him out, and it does. Georgia manages to actually hit us in return, but somehow his shells either shatter or ricochet off the armor of the Kutuzov, which is, as I said a little bit earlier, completely non-existent, so obviously that was a welcome surprise to me. The Georgia is dispatched. The Fletcher is still in front of our teammates. The other battleship over there is as well, but the Vladivostok is right here. And you can see my teammates are about to push forward, but the Vladivostok's guns are indeed pointed at them. So that is when Spartan and I decide to make our last move. Surely our teammates together can deal with that Fletcher and that other battleship, but this Vladivostok, they're going to have a hard time dealing with him. Not if we rush him, though. Spartan has almost no health left, so he was thinking of going for the ram. I'm sure the Vladivostok can ruin me in one salvo, so I was thinking of using my torpedoes. And the Vladivostok does ruin me there with one single salvo, just as I predicted he would. So that prompts me to turn and launch my torpedoes, which, in retrospect, I kind of wish I had waited a little bit longer to do, and you'll see here why. I mean, obviously I'm still alive. I'm taking fire from that Fletcher, and only 2 of my torpedoes managed to impact the Vladivostok. They do a fair bit of damage to him, but I could have launched them from this angle still, and probably dev-struck him, or at least sunk him. In any case, though, we did remove a lot of his hit points, and that is going to be helpful to Spartan. It is going to make it much easier for him to take down this Vladivostok, potentially without even ramming the Vladivostok, but he does have to be careful. There is a gameplay expert out there in the Lion who is reversing to the back of the map, or I'm sorry, the Leon, so caution is needed as Spartan initiates the ram. He takes down the Vladivostok. Our teammates, just as I predicted, were perfectly capable of handling that Fletcher. So the fact that we took out the Vladivostok and he no longer has access to the broadsides of our teammates is going to allow them to push straight into this Leon and take him out as the final ship left alive on the enemy team, and thus we win. And I think you can actually see the value of going down 2 brothers under certain circumstances in this game. My presence and Spartan's presence in that channel meant that the enemy team came around after completely demolishing our teammates over at the Delta flank. They could have pushed through, but they didn't. They came back to deal with us, and they couldn't quite manage it, which ultimately, I think, led to their downfall. Now, you might disagree with me. If you have a different analysis, be sure to let me know in the comments, but I think this video just goes to show that while it's generally good advice not to go down the middle channel in 2 brothers, and while most players who do attempt to go down the middle often don't play the middle very optimally, there is a way to do it, and there is value in doing it. As you can see here, I think my move and Spartan's move down the middle actually helped contribute to the win of our team here. I think it actually was a useful thing. Maybe if we had instead turned right and gone to the Delta flank, we would have had a little bit harder of a time. Maybe the enemy team would have just pushed into us. Maybe the outcome would have been the same. Who knows? But it worked. That's the whole point of this video, I suppose. It worked, going up the middle in Two Brothers. Therefore, is it really a stupid idea? Well, I suppose not always. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.